So we're basically going to continue on the entire immigration train because it's content that just will not stop. It just will not stop. It just keeps getting juicier the further down the goddamn rabbit hole we go. Are you ready? Okay. So make sure everybody can see it. Jesse Kelly. Now, if you don't know who this guy is, there it is. Okay. So this individual said that we should ignore the Supreme Court and arrest anyone who tries to enforce this. Dissolve the Supreme Court and... dissolve the Supreme Court entirely if they push. Now, what is he referring to? The Supreme Court blocking Trump from deporting the Venezuelans that we talked about yesterday. That's right. That's right. Wait. There we go. Yeah, so the Supreme Court basically set a smackdown on his ass. I believe they did it because I can't remember what the reason was. Yeah, Thomas and Alito dissented, and they said they would release a statement later on. I have not seen anything about that statement, but they voted 5-4. No, that's a different one. It is kind of funny that they are just blocking like this random group of individuals. But they have the ACLU like essentially suing on their behalf, so that's probably what it was. It is kind of weird that they just get to this is the contention, right? Is that I believe is that they're being deported without a hearing. And I think that's the problem, is because as long as they're not criminals, they are required to get a hearing. However, if they're in the country illegally, that by default makes them criminals. So I think that's what they're trying to use it. I think that's the like wiggle room they're trying to use, the Trump administration, to deport essentially unauthorized immigrants. That's what the government term is for. That's what the government term is. And so yes, they're blocking the deportation of these individuals. They only gave the court 42 minutes to act. What the hell? Huh. Yeah. So it's just, there's nothing really around this that we can really dig into, but they did essentially check the president's power. Okay. So that's what Jesse Kelly is commenting on. He wants us to ignore the Supreme Court, arrest anyone who tries to enforce this, which that's not a thing, and dissolve the Supreme Court entirely if they push. I'm assuming he means if anybody tries to stand up for the fact that the Constitution exists and the court have made a decision and the president should at least, tangentially abide by it until they can fight it out in court, because that's where you're supposed to fight these things. Because if you don't fight them in court, guess where the fighting goes to next? That's right, it goes to knives and guns. And you don't bring a knife to a gunfight, you don't bring a gun to a rocket fight, and you don't bring a rocket to a nuke fight. Look, we can't go this route, okay? Like, I've had my problems with Jesse. This pretty much takes the cake. Like, I'm not gonna lie, this goes a bit too far. Because we are not at Lincoln stage yet. That's the main thing, is we're not quite at the stage where you can just act like Lincoln and think you can get away with it, right? Because what happened to Lincoln because he thought he could act like Lincoln and get away with it? Oh, that's right, he got shot in the back of the head. And no, I don't really think anybody's going to shoot Trump in the back of the head. It's more that the entire apparatus of the United States government, once you take this step, you've lost me, and pretty much almost everybody else. A lot of the Second Amendment guys, no matter how much they like Trump, they're not gonna like this. I don't like this. This is not good. This is not good. There's not even an argument for it, considering there's literally no legal way to do this, right? There are legal ways to fight the Supreme Court. And yeah, we're not there yet. If the Supreme Court basically told the president he can't deport anybody ever again, period, and we must let all illegal stay, you might have an argument, right? You might have an argument, but that's not what's going on. That's not what's going on. That's not what's going on at all. At all. Okay, so yeah, this is just, and the thing about it is like, I feel like Jesse says shit like this, and people like him say shit like this, literally just to stir the pot, to make the crazies on the opposite team even more crazy. Just like that there are people on blue team that do the exact same thing, that go really uber hard into the anti-Christian, like, degenerate trans shit just to piss people off. I mean, I was an edgy atheist at one point too. I also said and did stupid shit to trigger the fuck out of religious people around me because they were being asshats. Yeah. I wasn't invited back to church anymore. Let's just put it like that. All right. So, and one of the reasons we're talking about this is because we're having more of the gift that keeps on giving. So, I don't know Morgan's politics. I don't know. But here's the thing. They talk about, like I said, no one's immune. Everyone does this. Everyone does this. And they pretend they don't. And they pretend they don't. And tell you they ain't. And so the reason I'm bringing this back up is because essentially what we're looking at is, so Brian, love you, Brian. Thank you for all the content. You are absolutely the like machine when it comes to this, of just absolutely stupid fucking retarded takes. So they photoshopped. I'm pretty sure he changed this. I can't. Okay. I was like, I'm pretty sure it didn't say on top the last time I saw this tweet. Let's just put it like that. So anyway, Trump blasted out a photo of Abrego Garcia's hand tattoo with MS-13 photoshopped on top. Photoshopped on top. Brian, nobody believes that they have a grainy ass fucking picture of his hand and that he had MS-13 in Times New Roman tattooed on his actual fucking knuckles. You fucking degenerate retard. Oh my god, dude. Like, this like, when I saw this, I literally couldn't believe, like, and the thing that kills me is Dev actually fell into this trap too by using the word fabricated evidence. Fabricated evidence, everyone. The president of the United States thinks you're so fucking stupid. This is their contention. That you would believe that the man in the photo has an M above the marijuana leaf, an S above the smiley face, a 1 above the cross, and a 3 above the skull. Okay. Now, it's entirely possible that some fucking boomer who doesn't know how fucking any of this shit works may actually believe that. Or be like, why is it tattooed on his actual knuckle? That'd hurt like hell right there. Yes, it would hurt like hell. Which is why you wouldn't do it. You also probably, if you had like grainy green tattoos, wouldn't have freshly stamped black in Times New Roman font tattoos as well. Oh my god, dude. Brian, the photo is labeled. The photo is labeled, bro. It is not photoshopped. It is labeled. He's using, like, this is what I've been talking about for days. The language you use tells me your true intent, because you as a smart individual, and Brian is not stupid, know how to phrase things to make them seem more legitimate or less legitimate, to make them engender feelings of goodness or sadness or happiness or badness. like anybody who knows how language works and how you can write things knows this, right? It's very easy. Novelists do it all the time when they write their novels, so that you can sympathize with the villain, but you hate his guts at the same time. And it's not just his actions; it's how he's written and how they're portrayed. It's the same way when you look at the good guys. A lot, the language you use can determine how you feel about them. Some of the best books, some of the best novels, some of the best ones always have like a twist of some kind. Not what I mean to say is if you have a twist in the novel, in a story, that if you use language correctly, you can fool someone into believing someone is something that they're not, despite what they're doing in real time, right? So you can see a person's actions, but if it's framed in a certain way and uses certain language, they can be seen as less bad. And then by the end of the story, all of the flowery language unravels, and you get to see the true face of evil kind of deal. Or the other way around, where it looks like a dude might be bad and he's not very nice and all this other stuff, and then the story unravels. So Brandon Sanderson, the individual who wrote the Stormlight novels, wrote a book called Warbreaker. And in Warbreaker, this is exactly what happens. The entire time, the bad guys are doing everything that's bad in front of you, and you don't realize it. And the good guy is doing everything good in front of you, and you don't realize it, because the frame being used is through somebody else's perception, and they perceive the bad guys as the good guys because they've been tricked, and they perceive the good guy as the bad guy because they've been tricked. And once it all unravels, you go back and you reread it, and you're like, oh my God, every bit was all there. But because of how it was framed and the words that were used to describe these people, it put me in a different frame of mind, which makes me like them or dislike them more, making it more likely for me to think they're the antagonists rather they're the bad guys rather than the good guys. And this is what's going on right here. This is exactly the kind of thing. The right does it too. Don't get me wrong. Red team, blue team. Like when we talk about red team and blue team, we're essentially talking about the same teams. We're talking about both teams use the same tactics, period, hands down. So there is no difference between that, in that they are, in fact, the Uniparty, or the Uniteam, if you'd like to say. But they differ in many other things. But the fact that they will use the most emotionally laced arguments to try to make their case, completely ignoring logic or feliciousness or any of that other shit, they absolutely 100% do it. The rules are there for a reason, namely so we can give ourselves room to exhaust every non-violent option before we come to such profound impasse that we must use force against one another. Bravo, sir. Well said. Well said. Yes. No. Shut. There we go. Well said. Well said. That is 100% true, and it is one of the main reasons why our government is set up the way it is because the founding fathers recognized that politics is just violence without the violence part. Right? Without the bad shit happening, right? Or excuse me, politics is war, but without the violence. So, yeah, it doesn't even bend with the skin. Yeah, that's kind of my contention. It's like I said, maybe some boomer who would believe like the shitty AI cat videos might fall for the fact that that they might think, oh, he actually has MS13 tattooed on his hand. It's like, yeah, but the vast majority of people have some like tattoo experience, right? I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world. The vast majority of people either have tattoos or they know people who have tattoos. And this is one of the reasons why I'm bringing this one up specifically, is because Brian is one of the mainstream blue team people. So I want you to say that's not evidence. It's a connect the dots for people who already know the picture they want to see. Classic gaslighting circular logic. Invent the code and then cite the code as proof. Bro. Marijuana. See, look. This is it right here. This is another way. Pot leaf. Is that what that is? Or is it marijuana? An actual name for what this is in Espanol. Smiley face is, I can't remember what smile is. Let me, I'm pretty sure it begins with an S. Sonrisa. So Brian is so first he's disingenuous with his framing of photoshopped on top. No, labeled. So if you were to say this in a neutral way, Trump just showed a photo of Garcia's hand tattoos with, quote, MS-13 labeled on top of his hand. Okay. Here's the decoding. Here is what the president is telling you this means. The marijuana leaf equals M. The smiley face, parentheses, sonrisa in Espanol, it equals S. The cross equals 1. The skull equals 3. I've heard multiple different things with the skull. It's because it has 3 holes, or it creates a 3 on the side, or some dumb shit like that. I don't really give a fuck why it is what it is. I've seen people on literally both sides of this to be like, I'm an expert in this, and that does not mean that. I'm an expert in this, and it does mean that. Like, what the fuck, dude? Okay, so this is not evidence. No, Brian, this is evidence. It's not proof. It's not proof, but it is evidence. He's either lying or he's just flat wrong. This is actually evidence. It's not a connect the dots. Everybody fucking knows that gangs use tattoos as identifying markers. Like, come the fuck on, dude. For people who already know the picture they want to see. Classic gaslighting. I mean, he's literally gaslighting you with this statement. And circular logic. He's just inventing shit. Invent the code and cite it as proof. Like, you don't have to invent the code. We know they do this, right? See, look. And this is another way. If you have to play tattoo Sudoku, so he's mocking the fact that they use tats as a language to communicate with one another. And the thing about it is if you've ever watched the History Channel, you know this because they have fucking prison documentaries where they're talking to neo-Nazis and fucking Crips and Bloods and fucking all these other motherfuckers, including people like MS-13, where they literally talk about what their tats mean and how they communicate, like rank, privilege. This says you murdered a dude. This says you did some other bad shit that I'm not going to talk about on stream. Like, this is gaslighting. That's what this is. Don't believe your lying eyes. Like, could Trump be wrong? Yes. But the thing about it is, could they be wrong about the meaning of these tattoos? Yes, they could. I don't think they are, but they could. Does Brian talk about that? No. He mocks it because he knows it's right and he's trying to confuse people. Simple as. It's either that or he is actually fucking stupid and is just post hoc making it to where he can't do this. Like, this is what I'm talking about. Pot leaf. Brian, you know it's called marijuana. It's fucking Spanish, bro. Like, you know it's marijuana. Like, I can understand you being ignorant of the fact that smile in Spanish has an S that it starts with. I can understand that. But pot leaf, fucking pot leaf. Are you fucking retarded? Photoshopped pot leaf. And gaslighting as he gaslights you. Yeah. Fuck you, Brian. Anyway, one of the main reasons I wanted to bring this up is because here we go. Jonah Goldberg. So if this is true, it underscores why habeas/due process is so important. I mean, it is important. Again, the president is actually misleading the public with false evidence. False evidence. Touts seemingly doctored photo. Doctored photo. That's right. They tried to push this morning. I remember seeing it. Everybody was screaming, "The Trump showed a doctored photo. Trump showed a doctored photo." It's like, bro, it's fucking labeled. It's fucking labeled. Like, this underscores the problem I have with Blue Team is that, and you know, I have my problems with Red Team and we talk about them. My problem with Blue Team is like, they can't seem to actually pick something that one resonates and two is actually like something, right? This is not the scandal. The scandal is that Trump violated a court order and should be held to account. But we can't talk about that because we have to talk about a doctored photo. When Trump brings forth the photo, you say, okay, that's great. It says MS-13. That's fine. But he's human and deserves his human right to due process that we guarantee here in this country. That's what you say. That's what you say to that. It was like, yes, it looks sure, maybe he's MS-13. Yeah, there's a lot of evidence that he might be. That doesn't mean he doesn't get due process. Quote, that doesn't mean he doesn't have due process rights. We put fucking terrorists on trial for blowing up the World Trade Center in like the fucking 80s. Like, the argument about like it's such a burden upon the American people because the situation is so bad, blah 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 blah. That's a fine argument to make, but you have to change the rules so that you're within the legal bounds, so you can do that. You can't just do it unilaterally and expect people to just give it up. And it's one of those weird things. It's like, I wonder, like, was it an administrative error or did they do it on purpose? Because if it was an administrative error, okay, sure, but it's entirely possible they did it on purpose. Oh, he has a withdrawal order? Fuck it, just roll. Oh, he has a withdrawal order. Fuck it, we ball. And they just deported him anyway. To stir up a shit pot so that literally they have to defend the worst of the worst kind of people. Because that's what MS-13 is. Like, they are actually the worst people on the planet. Like, it is hands down, like, they beat everybody. As far as just like, they're not badass, they're evil. Like, they are actual evil. You know, you have to murder to get in. Their motto is what is it? Murder, rape, control. I think that's their motto. Like, they don't give a fuck about anything, dude. When I talk about how there's honor among thieves, and like even some of the mafia, like they have their own code. Like, you don't. So, a lot of them, you don't fuck with women. You certainly don't fuck with kids. Yeah, MS-13 has none of those. Nope. Nope. Not even a little bit. They are muy mal. So many people use gaslighting incorrectly. It does not mean to just deceive, but to deceive in such a way to make the person deceived doubt their own perceptions. Yes. And I do believe that this is what he is doing when he does this, right? Because we all know that marijuana starts with an M. Easy. But look at what he does. It's photoshopped. Well, bro, like, what? How the fuck are they supposed to label it if they don't literally use fucking Times New Roman and stamp that shit on there? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Now, I will say that they didn't do them any bit of good by not making them all on the same height. Like, I will say that if they had labeled this in a better way with all the letters at the same height, instead of, lower down above the tattoo so it's closer, and they just drew a line to the tattoo with like a little tiny arrow, that probably would have been a better way to label it, because there would be no mistaking it is a label put on there. So I think they did themselves a little bit of a disservice, but man, I mean, it's like one of the million little things. It's like, okay, so you didn't do it perfectly, but you got 99% there. Like, fair enough, right? You can't really tout that. And one of the, and it's like, this is the kind of shit. This is the kind of shit right here. And to be fair, I'm stretching the meaning of gaslighting too, because the thing about it is that he's literally just being deceptive with language. That's really what it is. This is when Tim Pool says the media lies to you by the language that they use. This is the bullshit that he's talking about. This is exactly how they do it. This is exactly how they do it. Because, like I said, if he were reporting properly, then it would be MS-13 labeled on top of the photo. Here is the decoded message that Trump admin claims is there, or whatever. You can word it better, but you don't have to use this type of language. Like, he's literally loading his language to make you think this is bad. Pot leaf, M, no, it's marijuana, right? Smiley face. Why didn't you look up the word for what smile means in Espanol, bro? Like, are you racist, Brian? Are you racist? Why didn't you look it up? You should know these things. Sorry, I'm just being an asshole. And then, so this is the thing. We'll get into that too. This right here. So, do you notice the tats? The tats are there. So the tats are real. No, he does not have MS-13 on top of them, because that's retarded. Why would she cover them up? Most people are proud of their tats. Don't you remember? Fucking Al Bundy, no wife, no kids, riding on a motorcycle. Yeah, I remember that. Most people are proud of their tats. Why would you hide them like that? Maybe she doesn't like them? That's entirely, no, that's okay. So I have actually pulled a possibility out of my ass, and I now have to display it. Okay, so here we go. So it's entirely possible that if he's not part of MS-13, that some of the symbols may be associated with them, and that's why she's doing it. Or it's entirely possible she doesn't like those tattoos, and it makes the picture look funky, so that's why she covered it. You got to remember, women put filters over their own fucking face. So the fact that she covered the tats doesn't necessarily mean that they're gang tats or that she's trying to hide that fact. It may be that she doesn't fucking like them, and they look like and she thinks they look like shit, and so she covers them up. Like I said, women put filters on their face, and they literally take hundreds of pictures of themselves in various quantities per day. I have known women who would take 100+ selfies of themselves a day in different positions, smiling in different ways. It is like, so what you're saying is there is a chance this was done purposely so that the validity of no deport orders as a whole was lessened? No. The contention that I said, that the hypothetical, was the fact that it's entirely possible that the Trump admin saw the deportation order and said, fuck it, ignore it, don't worry about it. And they may have done it for several reasons. One of those reasons could be that they wanted to stir up the pot. Because think about it like this. There are various, like, violating a court order is a bad thing, right? It is illegal. But just like all other illegal things, there are variations, there are very, how should I put this? There are degrees to which it is bad, right? Murder is really fucking bad. But premeditated murder where you planned it out is much worse than just some dude made you angry and you fucking shot him for it, right? That's different. It's still murder, but one is considered worse, right? Just like if you accidentally kill a dude with your vehicle because you weren't paying attention, well, you'll get manslaughter, right? Or criminal negligence rather than murder, right? So there are various degrees. So what, like, if let's say that you or I was to defy a court order like this, what punishment would we get? Well, I imagine it wouldn't be too bad. However, the administration doing it on an individual level, it might be a little bit worse as far as like punishment and what would be handed down if you were actually convicted of any kind of crime. But it probably wouldn't involve jail time. It would probably involve like loss of job or more potentially just a fine, right? Because that's usually how it works. If banks can fucking clean terrorist money and only get like a $10 million fine, you know, like 0.001% of the profit that they made, like you saying like people in the Trump admin need to go to jail for 30 years, like definitely falls on deaf ears. Like it's just nowhere in the same goddamn ballpark for me, right? And it's also potential. Now you bring up an even better point, is the fact that the reason they violated the order was not so that the orders themselves as a whole could be lessened, but so they were more easily challengeable in court. Because think about it like this. It's hard to challenge something in court. I don't believe that the Trump admin could have brought any of this stuff to court, period, because there was no aggrieved party or any of this other nonsense. But by violating the order, they create a shitstorm around it that would allow other people to contend against them and bring it to court, which would then allow them to challenge the validity of said orders in court. So it's possible they're going that, but that sounds way too much like an actual 4D chess move rather than just them flopping around with their fucking dicks hanging out. Because honestly, that's kind of what it sounds like. That's kind of what it feels like to me, is that it probably was an administrative error. But the government, here's the thing. If it was an administrative error, okay, what's the remedy? Well, we can put things in place so this doesn't happen again, okay? What about the remedy for the person who was deported? Well, the individual that was deported was an actual illegal alien. He was a criminal alien. He was, quote, an unauthorized immigrant who was living here unauthorized until he got a withholding of deportation. A withholding of deportation does not give him the right to necessarily the right to live here forever. It gives him the ability to not be deported from here for fear of shit that's going on in his country. And potentially, once that situation has changed, then he could be deported back. Right? So you could potentially have deported him to another country. Although that probably wouldn't have been a good idea either. So there is a lot. This is what I'm saying about, like, it's the legality is not just cut and dry. This is how you can do some really bad shit and get off on it if you know how the law works and your lawyer is pretty decent at what they do. It's because there's so much wiggle room in most laws, and the reason they create that wiggle room is because you need to have room for good actors who make mistakes to not get their life fucked over, right? If you make a small mistake, let's say you're running a business and you accidentally fuck up your stuff because you can't afford an accountant, or you get an accountant and they fuck it up, right? They fuck up your accounting, and so you basically lied to the government about your taxes now, but you didn't really lie, right? You made a mistake, and so that's why they just give you a little bit of a fine depending on how bad the mistake is, and then you move the fuck on, right? Unless you're Trump, and then they they get rid of the statute of limitations. And then they upgrade it to a felony for random reasons. We don't need to get into that. I'm just memeing at this point. So yeah. So the tattoos do exist. You can see them right here. This is the photo that was taken recently in El Salvador. And you can see that she covered them up. Now, again, she may have covered them up because she thinks they look like shit and she doesn't like the way they look. Now, she didn't cover these up, so it might just be these individual tattoos she doesn't like. But it also could be the fact she covered it up because she knows they're fucking gang tats and she's trying to hide it. Okay, there's this picture. And then we've got another one right here. And so the tattoos do exist. You can see them clearly right here. Right here. And I really hate when people put photos up like this on report and they don't do this. This is exactly what you should do. So the guy who posted on X that I didn't like that one, did I? Yeah, this guy. See what this is doing? Do you remember what I said about framing? This is the first picture. This is what they want you to think about. Not this. So, yes, this man is a human being, and he deserves human rights that we have guaranteed in our country, and he deserved his due process. However, it does appear that he is at least an associate of MS-13. There is a lot of evidence that he is part of this gang. Now, it could be all circumstantial, and he could just be, a good boy, and none of that's just true. But again, like you got it. How many dots do you need to connect that line, right? How many dots? Because you got to think about it like this. All of the people screaming about Trump violating the Supreme Court, they are the same people who shit all over the police officer's report about him being associated with MS-13. They shit all over the confidential informant, which, yes, they can be absolute shit and lying fucking bullshit, but many of them are not. Hence why they're trusted, right? It's like... It's so funny, man, because in one breath they will literally be like, we need to protect the system, man. You gotta follow what the court says, man. You gotta do all these things, man. And then in the other breath, they'd be like, yeah, the cops are out to get you, man. They're gonna lie through their fucking teeth about you, make up all kinds of bullshit and fucking risk felony charges on a report so that they can lie about this fucking Mexican bro. Same fucking breath, dude. Same fucking breath. But yeah, that's what this is. So, and to be fair, he could be pointing out that, oh, see this picture of him being a good father? Oh, look, he does have those tattoos. Oh, look, here's the tattoos. So he could be on red team, and I don't even really give a fuck. It doesn't matter. The point is that block out the face. I probably shouldn't even have shown this on my stream. So that's on me. I should have done something about that. Anyway, so yeah, dissolving the Supreme Court is an offense that would allow me to label you a traitor to the United States of America. And let's see, there's something specific in the Constitution about traitors, isn't there? Can't quite put my finger on it. You know what? Let's ask Rock. Punishment. Traitor. According to the... Did I spell that right? I did. Under Article 3, Section 3, it defines treason as levying war against the United States or adhering to its enemies, giving them aid and comfort. The punishment is not specific in the Constitution, but itself, but is left to Congress to determine, requiring testimony of 2 witnesses, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so here we go. Which states that treason is punishable by death or by imprisonment for no less than 5 years and a fine of not less than $10,000, along with a prohibition from holding any office under the United States. So I was actually wrong. He wouldn't be a traitor. It would be sedition, I think, right? Because none of this is actually, yeah. So fair enough. Okay, so I was wrong, but punishable by death. He wouldn't be a traitor. It'd be sedition. Let's see. What is? Did I spell that right? I'm not even typing. What am I doing? Sedition in the U.S. primarily addressed under 18 U.S.C. whatever the fuck is defined as seditious conspiracy. It involves 2 or more persons conspiring to overthrow, put down, or destroy by force the U.S. government. Levy war against the United States. Oppose by force the authority of the United States government. Well, that would be 1, 2, right there. Also, this is what they think Trump did, and I'm not gonna lie, or excuse me, tried to do with the January 6th bullshit. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm not too far from believing it, to be honest, because the only thing that holds me back is the fact that they tried to use a legal loophole that was on its face retarded, but still within the bounds of what would potentially legally be acceptable. So, yeah. But you notice how it doesn't say, when it says overthrow, it doesn't actually talk about using force to do so. So we're not talking about the riot, we're talking about the other part. And let's see. And this is how some of the J6 dudes got charged with could have been charged with seditious conspiracy, because they essentially started a riot during a government function, which would have opposed by force the authority of the U.S. government, right? So it's like they were treading on fucking very, very, very shaky ground. By force, seize, take, or possess any property of the United States contrary to its authority. You know how many times this happens? A lot. Do you know how many people get charged with seditious conspiracy? Almost none. So, like, you've heard of all, like, the Black Panthers taking over a fucking, showing up with guns to a fucking thing in, San Francisco. That thing that happened a while back in, like, Wisconsin, where they took over a government building with guns and a bunch of white people. Not Black Panthers, but a bunch of white people did it. And the main reason why most people don't get charged with this kind of thing is because they don't actually commit violence. Like, they don't commit brazen violence. Like, they don't shoot at cops or any of that nonsense. They literally just show up in force and impose their will. And then once they're heard, most of the time they just fucking leave. And so it's like, yeah, but this is America. Guns and speech kind of like go hand in hand. So most people are just like, well, okay, sure, whatever. Like, a lot of times, especially if you don't destroy property or hurt anybody, most people are just going to be like, sure. Like, when I see, like, you want to, like, this is like, here's my politics. I believe the Black Panthers should own as many guns as they fucking want. Yes. when I see groups of black men carrying guns, the only thing I think about is, God, I fucking love this country. I love this fucking country, man. It's just, freedom. I love it, man. I fucking love it. It's because it's one of those things where it's like, because as bad as our country, as bad as some of the things our country has done, that every country has done, we've come so far. And it's not just because they're black. It's because They're people who are asserting their rights and telling you, if you want to take my rights away, you can come and fucking take them. And I don't give a fuck what your skin color is. I don't care if you're some yellow motherfucker standing on top of a goddamn building during the LA County riots. You take that fucking rifle, man, and you hold it proudly. God fucking damn it. I love this country, man. Like rooftop Koreans, man, that's like pure Americana, baby. Pure Americana. Like, I love it. I can't get enough of that shit. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I think we're pretty much done. I think I've made my point on this. You know, and I'm just gonna say it right off. Both teams use emotional manipulation to make their point rather than logical arguments, because logical arguments don't work on most people. One, because most people aren't that invested. So they won't pay enough attention. And two, they just don't give a fuck, right? This is the kind of thing that resonates, right? When you see this, these are our people. But the vast majority of people are going to look at this and be like, foreign criminals. These are all gang members in El Salvador. Are some of them probably not gang members? Maybe. But there are a lot of people in our prisons that are innocent as well, right? And we should rectify that if we can. This is their justice system. You don't like it, that's fine. That's fine. But you don't get to dictate what their justice system is, right? Now, there is an argument to be made that we shouldn't be deporting criminals and criminal aliens to this place. I can listen to that argument. There might be some validity to that. But again, we are in a situation in which we face an existential threat. And we have to address it. And if we don't address it, then this shit is coming here. Mass incarceration works. It absolutely works. Because what it does is it makes not only normal people afraid, but it makes criminals afraid. Criminals don't want to go to jail. They want to be on the street slinging drugs. They want to be on the street extorting people, getting their money, living the good life. Bitches and hoes, man. Fucking cognac on the side. Fuck yeah, dude. That's what they want to do. They don't want to be in prison. But what happens when mass incarceration happens is that the criminals actually do get caught. It's just the real problem with mass incarceration is that a lot of innocent people get caught up in it too. And a lot of people get harshly punished for things that should have lenient punishments, right? Like, you shouldn't chop people's hands off for shoplifting. Right. Okay. Most of us in the West, we can agree with this. You shouldn't lose your hand if you get caught stealing, especially if, you are literally stealing food because you're hungry. But that doesn't mean there wasn't a victim, right? But with this, mass incarceration works because the criminals do get put in jail. When the criminals are in jail, they cannot be outside. They're not outside the jail committing crime anymore. They're committing crimes inside the jail. And if you have a jail like this, I mean, this is my thing, right? They call this place a gulag. I can understand why they might use that language, especially considering what this looks like. But look at the conditions of this place. These dudes are clean. Their clothes are clean. Right? The place itself looks relatively clean, well maintained, well lit. All the bays are open. You can see into them. They all have fucking cots. They all have a place to sit. It's not super overcrowded, at least as far as I can tell. Right? I haven't seen like every piece of media on this place, but it's like this place looks better than some of the prisons here in the United States. Like, do you know what we do with our Supermax prisons here? They don't get to fucking sit in jail cells with 100 other dudes. If you're in a Supermax prison that's run by the United States government, you get to sit in a cell alone for 23 hours a day. And then they take you out to a tennis court where you get to run around. It's like as big as my fucking room here. Like, it's no joke, dude. It's horrible. Now, funnily enough, it probably wouldn't fuck with me too bad. I am the kind of guy that like lives in his own head anyway. So I imagine the only thing that would happen to me if I got locked in a small room for 23 hours a day is that I would just I wouldn't go stir crazy. I would just go crazy. Because deprived of all other stimulation, I'm let me put it to you like this. There have been times in my life where I have been so bored out of my mind, but I had to wait for something, that I have been able to completely disassociate from this reality. So if I were in one of those things, I imagine that that's what would happen. I don't know, right? And I'm not saying I'm tough or anything. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about how being locked in a cell all by myself all day long. I don't know if it would be necessarily that damaging to me specifically because of how my brain works. But to a lot of normal people, it's absolutely destructive to your psyche. Anyway, tangent aside. My point with this is that they keep saying that this is bad. And it's like, okay, it might be bad. It could be, yes. But this isn't our justice system. This is their justice system. You don't get to determine what their justice system is. And this is one of the other things is like, these are a lot of the vast majority of people that I see criticize this place are the same ones that will, out of the, one side of their mouth, they defend the system when it agrees with them. And on the other side of their mouth, they shit on the system when it doesn't. And it's like we either take the system as it is and we point out its flaws and go from there, or we don't. And it just feels like most people don't. Just like when the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, I was actually happy with that decision. Because I don't think because it was a shitty decision to begin with. Even Ruth Bader Ginsburg said that. And what I was hoping we would get is that it would galvanize the blue team to work with the red team to put something into law. And it never manifested. And it really made me mad. Anyway, so yeah, I think we're done with this. So basically, it all depends on how you frame it, right? And they both do it. They both appeal to emotion, and neither one are actually appealing to logic. And in the big mainstream narratives, neither team appears to logic and reason. They always appeal to emotion because it works. And right now, I believe the red team is winning because of the messaging. Because this is like, look, these are our people. No, they're not. These are all, the vast majority of them are probably MS-13 or other types of gang members from a foreign country. And if some of them happen to be, had been residing here in the United States and were sent there, then they're illegal criminal aliens. And maybe we shouldn't send them to El Salvador. Sure, but they're not our people, bro. My people don't have a motto that's murder, rape, and control, right? That's not my people. Nope. So, but I mean, if you're some crazy fucking psycho on the left, then maybe criminals, maybe criminals who do have the motto of murder, rape, control are your people. That's fine. But that ain't me. That ain't me, bro. All right, so we're going to move on to